Well, hello my friend, and welcome back to my channel for another video. Today's video is going to be just a kind of a quick day in the life. I kind of lost the whole middle of this day, but I think I have enough recorded here to go ahead and share just kind of, just the basics of this day, plus a good meal. And so I hope that you're here for it. Just backing up a bit, the beginning of the video showed me that particular morning I was dealing with a significant locked neck and shoulder, and this has just been kind of ongoing since I painted the pantry. Honestly, I really wore myself out doing that in such a quick amount of time. I did not take my time. I did not do anything to take care of myself during that project, and so it has been an ongoing struggle. But for whatever reason, that week before that, things got really pronounced to the point where I had just been in agony for days. And that morning after school drop off, I was like, it's time. I've got to do something to take care of myself. And so I just took my time with some gentle stretching and movement, very lightweight dumbbell work, just what felt kind of intuitive in my body for that morning. I didn't push myself, I didn't do it quickly, I just really took my time, sat with the sun on my face, had a few moments of prayer, and then looking back, watching this back, I was very emotional because I was realizing that that was all really tied to the news that we got just the couple days before that of our son Ryan. He finally got his marching orders, and so he's leaving for boot camp, and just I think my body was feeling all locked up with feeling some kind of way, all those emotions that go along with that. While we are so excited and so happy and so proud, there's just a lot to process there. So anyway, moving on, I took care of myself with stretching and movement and some sunshine and lymph drainage, and then made myself a deeply nourishing savory breakfast with just basically what we had left over in the fridge, and then added some berries to that and called it good. I sat there and just took my time. But getting into that meal that I'm prepping for this video, we just recently purchased half a cow and got that all put away and stocked up. So a lot of my recipes that you're going to be seeing upcoming are not like necessarily vegetarian friendly, because we've got a lot of beef and I'm using a lot of beef at my husband's request. So that was just a little couple of clips of us putting it all away, and Jason being very exuberant about having half a cow in the freezer for the winter. So you want to go ahead and preheat your Dutch oven or cast iron skillet, whichever vessel you're using. I used a little bit of grass-fed butter plus good quality olive oil and mixed those together, and then I seared the meat on all sides until a crust was formed. And before you put the meat in the pan, you want to use a good amount of salt and fresh cracked pepper. That is all I used. That produces just the best flavor. It's very clean. You don't have to worry about your garlic burning or anything like that. So that is not the time to season your meat with anything other than salt and pepper. So do that. And then you get to the point where your meat is ready to go, and then you throw in some sliced onion. I use a white or a yellow typically. I think in this roast that day I had a little bit of a red onion left over, so I threw it in there too. But 4 to 6 cloves of garlic and about 1 large white onion. And then I put the onion underneath the meat. So I put the meat on top of the onions, and then I poured in, this time I had a jar of the Epic bone broth, the jalapeno flavored bone broth. It's delicious. It's meant for sipping, but it worked okay for this too. Or you can just use like a box of beef broth or whatever you would typically use. Sometimes I use Better Than Bouillon beef flavored. That turns out really delicious too. So you would just use the appropriate amount of water with like a tablespoon or two of that bouillon paste. And then you put it in the Dutch oven, in the oven preheated to 325 for, depending on the size of your roast. So for me, this one needed to go about 2.5 to 3 hours. Unfortunately, I cooked it for 3.5 hours. So it was overcooked and it was dry, but it made delicious, delicious pan sauce, which you'll see there too. So anyway, yeah, that was my mistake. I should have Googled the cook time. I just assumed it would be okay at that long, but it was not. It was definitely overcooked. So quick moment to do a Google search and make sure that you are timing that just right for your cut of meat and for the minutes per pound, and you'll be good to go. So for our side on this one, I did a mash of purple sweet potatoes and carrots, and so I just peeled those, boiled them until they were super tender. The sweet potatoes were actually almost falling apart, so the timing of those carrots and sweet potatoes, you need to be a little bit careful with that so that you don't kill your sweet potatoes while your carrots are still getting soft. But it worked out beautifully. I ended up just mashing them together with some salt and pepper, some good quality butter, and you could use like half and half heavy cream or good quality whole milk. I think I used whole milk on these. And then the pan sauce from that roast it did not need a thing. It had such good, deep roasted flavor that I seriously didn't have to do anything but just add a little bit of water to the pan. And I even thought about using maybe a little cornstarch to thicken it. No, it didn't need it. I just kept it clean and pure and put water in it, simmered it, and then we just put it over the top of the meat and the potato carrot mash. And I gotta say, while this was delicious and highly nutritious, I did not appreciate the sweetness of the sweet potatoes and carrots with the really deep savory meat. I just wanted the pure classic regular old russet potato, mashed potato situation going on with my roast. Like, don't mess with my roast, right? Like, I want the classic traditional flavors and those yummy, creamy, buttery potatoes. But as you saw in the video here, my potatoes were rotting. They were all growing roots, and I was like, okay, that happened so quick. It's not like I haven't been in the kitchen, but anyway, the meal was delicious. Don't get me wrong. I just was like, I want my classic potatoes. So dang it, like, I'm gonna have to do this one again. And thankfully we have several cuts of beef that I can enjoy with the proper style potato. So I'm making this quick pan sauce. Like I said, I just added water, and you can see how sad that little roast is after I cooked the actual life out of it. Yeah. But like I said, at least it was still delicious. I put the shredded meat for some of my people did not want to eat the sweet potatoes and carrots. And so while I always try to get them to at least taste the things that I make, especially when I've put a lot of thought and effort into the nutrients that are going in their bodies. Anyway, they just did not want to eat it. And so I made beef and cheese burritos with some crappy tortillas that I had on hand. And that's what they ate instead. So anyway, I pick my battles. Sometimes I really push, and other times I'm like, whatever, at least you're getting this. So the rest of that dry meat I put back into the pan sauce so that it would have some moisture. And like I said, it was yummy. And I just plated it up over the sweet potatoes and carrots for myself because I was the only one that ate it like this. So it was beautiful. It was lovely. It looks much better in person than it did on camera, trust me. Okay, here we go. Moment of truth. It's not too salty. I was worried about that. The pan sauce is really good. I was really afraid it was going to be too salty, too concentrated, but it's really not. Now the combination of the purple sweet potato and carrot, pretty sweet. I don't think that Jason would love this just because of that kind of like, it's actually pretty sweet. Oh my gosh, I just realized it's 5 o'clock and it is still bright outside. Yay! Makes me so happy. Spring is coming. Okay, so the meat, not as tender as I would like. Actually, it's not that it's not tender, it's just that it got pretty dry because I probably cooked it, I would say I probably needed to knock about 30 minutes off of what I put it on. So I cooked it at 325 for 3.5 hours. It probably only needed about right around 3, maybe even 245, 230, 245, and then a good period of resting. But I wasn't sure. This is a Pike's Peak roast. This is from the half beef that we just purchased. It's delicious. The quality of the beef it's there. Very much, very different from a grocery store. Not different, but like, I don't know how to explain it. It tastes like beef. It's nothing weird. It's just the quality is there. The flavor is like pure. I really don't know how to explain that, but anyway, cheers. It's a good dinner. It's very healthy. I did not use any, packages of like Lipton soup flavoring, things like that I grew up on that I still use from time to time because let's face it, that's just comfort food and I know it and no thought required. But this can retrain you that this was just salt, pepper, beef broth, a little garlic, onion, and just really, I think getting the crust on the meat first, getting that good sear, that good crust, it makes all the difference because all of that flavor is just in that pan, in the Dutch oven from the slow roasting time in the oven. So all your flavor comes from that, and there you just don't need. There's nothing fancy about this at all. It's just very rustic and very, very flavorful. The only thing that I did a little bit different was I used 2 different kinds of onions. I don't typically use a red onion in a dish like this, but I had some in the fridge and I wanted to use it up. I didn't want it to go bad, so I just threw it in there, and it just adds to the sweetness. I think the overall flavor profile, very delicious, very comforting on a cold winter night. So I'm very happy with this, but this portion is about 3 times the amount I can actually eat. I just wanted to plate it up and see how it looked. But if you're interested in this recipe, I guess I could kind of throw it together and make an actual recipe out of it and type it up. But let me know down in the comments below if you want to try something like this, or if you're a little bit freaked out by the purple sweet potatoes. Only reason why I used purple sweet potatoes in this tonight was because my potatoes were rotting and I couldn't use them. So good time to clean out the basket of potatoes in my pantry. So here we are at the part of the day that I would rather just skip over, and I just want to go sit on the couch. But I can't. I cannot do that. So I'm gonna roll up my sleeves, put up my hair, roll up my sleeves, and get to work. I really don't want to. Let's go. I'm just, kind of working my way around the kitchen. This day I was feeding my sourdough starter to get it ready to make more bread. We had hosted and gone through most of our bread the couple of days before this was recorded, so it was time to get the starter going again. And I always like to take it out like several hours before I'm going to feed it, just to kind of let it come to room temperature, and I'll stir it up really well, and then I will feed it accordingly. So like on this day, I discarded just a little bit and got it down to a certain weight, where then I was able to just feed it just enough to make my usual 2 loaves. And we go through about 2 loaves per week. If I do the typical, 500 gram loaf, or boule, is that how they say it? I don't know. But I do 2 of those a week, and we seem to go through that. So anyway, I got that fed and put it in a warm place. Lately, it has been so cold in this house, so the starter has been loving sitting on the dryer or just somewhere in the laundry room. It tends to be nice and warm in there, and it seems to be performing much, much better than when it's struggling to come up to even like 65, 68 degrees. So that has been my little hack recently, keeping it in the laundry room where it's sitting at like more like 75, 78. If you've been around here before, recently my husband started law school. So in the evening, we usually like to have a cup of decaf or just a cup of tea or something, usually together. But recently he's been kind of tucked away in the bedroom, studying, writing papers, etc., etc. So on this night, I was happy to make him an Americano, and he enjoyed that while he was studying. And then I got right back into finishing up the dishes. Full disclosure, on this night, I did not finish all my chores. I just didn't have it in me, especially with my neck and shoulder, the way they've been just screaming at me. At this point in the day, I was like, tough, I gotta sit down. This isn't gonna get finished. I did the best I could, and I felt accomplished with what I had gotten done that day. And the fact that I was able to feed everybody somewhat healthy, and that some days it just goes like that. You have to celebrate the small things. And I felt like if I didn't rest, if I didn't sit down at that point, that I was just going to push myself even farther into that, fight or flight, so to speak. And I couldn't do it. So I just want to give you that reminder that if you're in one of those seasons, or if you're having those moments where you're like, this is truly all I can do. This was one of those days where I still got a lot done, but my typical output, it hasn't been there. So I could choose to beat myself up and say negative things to myself about myself, but I didn't do that. Instead, I did what I felt I could get done, and I felt very accomplished, and I was able to sit down with my own cup of coffee that evening and just say, hey, that's what we got done, and that's okay. Well, I finished up. I was officially out of steam. Was able to put the fire on and turn the lights down and just curl up and be cozy. Spent a little time scrolling at the end of the day. And I sat down for, I would say, maybe a minute and a half. And then Bishop came in and wanted to talk. So that's just the life of a mama. I am so grateful that he still comes in and wants to talk about things, talk about his day. This night he didn't have any homework, which was rare, so it was nice. We just had a little chat. He's the sweetest boy. I just love him so much. I can't believe he's about to be 12. Anyway, y'all, thanks for being here. Until next time, take care, friends. Bye-bye.